the #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.
Good morning, guys, and welcome to episode 135 of Costa Rica Real Estate and Investments with me, your host, Richard Bexon. First of all, big shout out to everybody that's reached out to us. I know that I've helped a couple of you guys recently with a few questions that you've had about kind of buying and building here in Costa Rica. Remember, we're here to help you with any investment that you make here in Costa Rica. We've quite a few homes that we're project managing and also helped a lot of clients actually recently find hotels, do diligence in hotels, and actually purchase hotels as well. And a couple of you actually building hotels. So this is pretty interesting. So, I think a lot of you guys know, if you've listened to the podcast before, a lot of my background is in hospitality here. So just really making sure that you're making kind of the right investment for you in Costa Rica. But today we're going to be talking with Cristina Guerrini. As you guys know, we've had her on the podcast a few times before. Cristina is a lawyer, a residency lawyer with CRIBO. She actually lives out in the Nosada area, but the office is here in San Jose. So we're going to be chatting with her today, kind of a bit of an update on the investor visa, kind of what she's seeing from her side as well. And also just getting a general idea of opportunities that she's seeing for investing, as she chats with clients and also as she lives out at the beach. So remember, guys, if you want to reach out to us, you can do info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. But let's get straight into the podcast. Good morning, Cristina. How are you doing?
I'm great. Thank you, Richard. How are you?
Very, very good. Thank you very much for joining us from Gaza in Osada in Guanacaste.
Thank you. It's my pleasure.
No, I know that we've had you here on the podcast a couple of times before. I always like to get a bit of an update of what's going on because, Costa Rica is never boring when it comes to residency. That's for sure.
Yeah, never boring. There's always something new.
Let me just start off the question that I always like to ask. Are you seeing a slowdown on your side of people applying for investor visas, people applying for, residence pensionados? Are you seeing a bit of a slowdown?
No, not really. We are
okay.
No, not really. Things are moving fast. Only we don't have that many applications as investors. People are trying to opt for other categories, even though they could qualify also for the investor residency.
Why is that, do you think, Cristina?
For example, multiple reasons. Until today, investors can only apply through the traditional platform of immigration, meaning they have to go to an appointment in person, they or their attorney, right? And the process takes more than 1 year to get resolution from immigration authorities approving the case. Whereas for rentistas or pensionados, retirees, the process is taking 4 to 6 months, and they can apply online and everything can be done online, and it's a lot faster. Even the paperwork, is more straightforward, I will say, because to prove, that you're a retiree, we just submit the documents for an investment. And if it's especially for U.S. citizens, it's very easy. We can get the letter from the U.S. consulate here via email, super easy.
Wow.
Rentista, we coordinate with the bank, the letter, and that's also not that complicated.
Explain, because again, a lot of people don't understand what the three, the investor, rentista, and pensionado. I think the pensionado one is like basically you have a certain amount of pension coming in, that covers a certain cost. But maybe you could just give us a summary of what those three are, if you don't mind.
No, absolutely. Thank you for asking that. So let's start with the pensionado. Pensionados from abroad means retiree, a person who have a pension. They can apply for the residency in Costa Rica as long as they demonstrate that they have a lifetime pension of at least $1,000 per month. Okay. It's important. It must be a lifetime pension. And that's pretty much it. Then they can apply for the residency, and they're going to pay the caja based on the pension amount.
Okay. And the caja is basically our Social Security here.
Exactly. The caja is the Caja Costarricense del Seguro Social, is the Social Security here. Okay. And the payment is a percentage of the pension, not exactly stable, so I cannot tell you how. I can give you an example. For example, for a pension of $1,000, you may end up paying like $120 of caja. It also depends on the exchange rate.
Yeah, and that's not terrible. You get access to the health system here, which again, in an emergency, if you need to use it, can actually be a good fallback.
Absolutely. And remember that people can also apply for the direct family members. So, for example, if we have a pensioner, a retiree in the family, the spouse and children up until they are 25 years old can also apply for the residency as their dependent. And they can also join the benefits of the Social Security in Costa Rica through the principal without having to pay any additional amount. So
Yep.
for just, let's say, $100 roughly, you could get your entire family covered here for sanitary purposes. Yeah.
Okay, so we've covered pensionado. Let's jump to rentista.
Yes. Okay, rentista or rentiers, somebody they call them, is a category that establishes that you have to demonstrate that you have an income of $2,500 per month in Costa Rica. You receive that income here. Going back to the pension, for example, you are not, you don't have to demonstrate that you're going to be receiving the pension in Costa Rica. You just need to prove that you have a pension. Okay, but back to the rentistas, they are requested to prove that they have an income of $2,500 per month, and this must be a stable, permanent, and irrevocable income for 2 years, which must be received in Costa Rica. So how do you demonstrate that? The easiest way is to have a Costa Rican bank issuing the letter required by immigration authorities. Why will they issue that? Because you deposit $60,000 in a Costa Rican bank account, and they will basically keep the $60,000 for 2 years, giving you back $2,500 per month at a time. Okay. So this is how it works in the practice. It is important to say that the new regulations are trying to avoid this scheme. So they're saying, no, you don't have to deposit 60K. You must have an income, like if immigration were trying to get the people to invest more money. So for example, even the wording of the letter must be very specific. Immigration doesn't want to see that you're depositing 60K. Immigration wants to know that you're making $2,500 here in Costa Rica. They don't care how. So it is very important to make sure that the document prepared by the bank or any other financial organization is exactly with the wording stable by immigration authorities, established by immigration authorities, or it will not work. But based on our experience, we have worked with different banks, and this is how it works. You deposit $60,000, and there you go.
So, I mean, if I'm anybody, like, I mean, I don't know, I'm sitting in the States at the moment and I want to move to Costa Rica, I can move, deposit $60,000 into like a Banco Costa Rica or Banco Nacional, the two like public bank. Or can I do it in Banco Popular or well, anyway, let's just say a public bank. It doesn't.
Banco Promérica we are using for other clients.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Okay, so it could be private or public. You deposit $60,000 and then you get $2,500 deposited every month, basically.
Exactly.
Okay. What happens when the 60,000 is gone after 2 years?
After 2 years, if you want to renew your residency again as rentista, you have to do again the investment of $60,000 to demonstrate the income, or you will not be able to renew your residency as rentista. You can switch to a different category, but to renew any condition, you have to still prove that you have the condition, basically.
Cristina, to go, is that kind of like temporary residency, meaning it's not permanent?
Exactly, good point. So the residency as pensionado, rentista, and investor are temporary residency that are granted for 2 years.
Yep.
After 2 years, you can renew the temporary residency, demonstrating that you still meet the condition of your category or switching to a different category. For example, you were investor, now you do the rentista. And after you have renewed your residency and you have been a temporary resident for 3 years, then you can apply for a permanent residency. Why would you do that? So the permanent residency still needs to be renewed every certain time, usually 2 years. But the big difference, and this is very important, is that once you become the permanent resident, your residency is called libre de condición, free of condition, and it allows you to work in Costa Rica legally. Whereas as investor, pensionado, or retiree, you cannot work in Costa Rica.
But you can own a business and be a shareholder and work for that business. You just can't collect a salary. Exactly.
Yes.
But you can receive dividends.
You can receive dividends.
But with retaining 15%, of course.
Of course, exactly.
Yeah.
Yes.
I love this country. Love it. I want it no other way. Okay, so there we've got pensionados, we've also got rentistas, and now the investor
Yes.
visa.
Yes, the investor visa is the category that changes the most recently. So in general, investors are those who invest certain amount of money. And here the first good news is that recently the threshold required has been reduced to $150,000. In the past, it was $200,000. So let's start with the good news. Hey, you don't need $200,000, that's $150,000. Where can you invest? You can invest in different type of investment. It can be real estate, it can be cars, it can be boats, it can be shares of a Costa Rican corporation, it can be project of public interest, tourist project, different types of investment. For today, I will focus on investment in real estate and in corporation, which are the one that changed the most recently. And I think this is why we're here today to update, on these aspects of the residency. So as I was saying, you have to invest $150,000. It was very, very typical for foreigners to, buy a piece of property in Costa Rica, you put that up in the name of the corporation and you apply for your residency. And as attorneys, what we did was, hey, we demonstrate that you own the shares of the corporation is, up to date with this obligation and blah, blah, blah. And we demonstrate that the corporation owns the investment. Oh, good. What changed recently is that immigration published regulations to implement certain benefits that had been established for investor, rentistas, and pensionados, which can talk about later. But whilst trying to simplify the process, for example, also saying that final investors should be able to apply online in a faster way, so they should no longer wait 1.5 years, they're saying, oh, by the way, if you want to apply as investor in real estate, you must own the property under your name and not through a corporation. And it's just, this tiny sentence, you're like, whoa, this changes everything. Because it was so typical for foreigner to put the property at the name of a corporation and not just to keep it separate from your own patrimony, from your assets, but also because as a foreigner, before you get your ID as resident, you cannot have an electricity service contract under your name. You cannot have water under your name. Usually, it depends on the SAD and everything. Yeah. You cannot even have a cable and TV service under your name with just a passport. So what do? Oh, we just put everything in the name of a corporation, which owns the asset. Very easy. And if you want to put that on Airbnb, then you operate through the corporation. But now the law is saying that if you want to apply as an investor, you must have the real estate under your name as an individual. And this changes everything, because it could mean, okay, now I have to buy a property. It must be under my name, but then I cannot get electricity. Then I cannot get water. What do? Do I still need to set up a corporation to have those services linked to the property? It's so complicated.
Yeah, but I don't think this is going to last, Cristina. I mean, again, I think it's the left hand not knowing what the right hand here is doing. And they did it, again, it just sounds crazy because, again, otherwise it's to open up a corporation, open up a bank account and put that money in is a nightmare here in Costa Rica, like a nightmare.
Yeah, I know.
Even for us that, residents here or citizens here is to open a bank account for a corporation is not easy.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, I know chambers and many industries are already against this new rule because the implications are huge. We had people that we literally had the case file ready for a client and we had to say, we cannot submit this today. We either have to transfer the property under your name or we have to switch to a different category. It's so complicated. So we put that on hold. Of course, we cannot let the certificate expire because for the residents, you need documents from abroad that are only valid, for a maximum of 6 months, depending on the document. But I really hope this will change because the entire purpose of the new regulation was to bring more foreigners here and simplify the process, give them benefits. Now they can import up to 2 cars in a duty-free regime. But then you cannot have the investment under the name of the corporation. It's crazy. I really hope this changes soon.
I'm sure it will do. I mean, if there's one thing that I know about the current president, he doesn't take any BS and just loves tearing up bureaucracy and stupid things. So hopefully this one will definitely come to the top of his pile to be thrown out. Anyway, I know there are quite a few kind of lawyers working on this one, so I'm sure it'll get thrown out pretty quickly.
Yeah, I hope so. We are working on it too on our way, and we're trying to find different solutions in the meantime. And hey, let's remember that there is also the digital nomad. Many foreigners that relocate to Costa Rica have remote services, or provide remote services, so they can just request a digital nomad in the meantime, and then they can see what happens with the investor residence.
Cristina, what happens if you'd already applied for residency under the old way of having the property in the corporation's name?
Okay, in theory, the new law should not impact the applications in process in a negative way. It's a new law. I don't know what's going to happen because I've seen everything with immigration. So they should not be affected. And I've got a residence approved as investor the last week. So after the new regulation, the investment was in the name of a corporation it was granted. So the example I have now is it was all good. So application already in process should be good. New application, we have to see.
Okay. I mean, what would be your advice to someone? Because again, not everybody wants to, not everyone wants to put $60,000 into a CD, or nobody, wants to, they're not retirees. So, I mean, it's kind of just, is your advice just kind of just wait a little bit and see where this one kind of goes? Because I mean, at any moment you could transfer it into your own name from a corporation. I mean, suppose the issue there though is that there's going to be a tax liability there as well to do that transfer.
Not only a tax, but we will have to see how immigration implement this. But if they're asking the investor to have the property at their name, I am assuming that they also want to see that the investor purchased the property paying the $150,000. So the safest way will be for, you, Richard, have property under your name. You pay your corporation $150,000, which means that there must be a movement of the money.
Yeah.
And then you get the property from your corporation and you can apply. Because if we, let's say, just donate the property from your corporation into yourself, then you will be receiving an asset for free. Why will you qualify as an investor? I don't think they're going to accept, no, but I did pay the corporation, because if you want to apply as investor in a Costa Rican corporation, it's a whole different story. And there is a new rule there saying that now if you want to invest in a corporation, then you have to be able to prove that your equity is valued $150,000. In other words, long story short, the equity of the corporation must be of $150,000. And you know that as of now, corporations have an equity of like $20.
Yeah.
Now they will have to increase the equity and pay the corresponding taxes and a lot of paperwork. It's like, really, I don't see how this can be feasible and viable. I mean, things need to be changed again.
I mean, it sounds like it's a waiting game here until that they, they sort it out, because I don't think there's any way that it can continue to be like this, and there's going to be a lot of pushback on it if there's not a lot of pushback at the moment. So I think anyone that's got it in a corporation that's going to apply for it, I would just wait for the moment.
Yeah, I will opt for a different option like the digital nomad visa in the meantime, or an estancia visa is also an option that we consider. Estancia visa is a special permit granted for those who are invited by a Costa Rican corporation. It must be an active Costa Rican corporation, but it's not that complicated to obtain that. Or just wait a little longer at the end of the day and do one border run, maybe two.
Yeah.
And you can start collecting the documents, because it can take some time. But yeah.
Okay.
Also,
I mean, what do you go ahead? Sorry, Cristina.
No, I will just have the people pay, even making the 150,000 payment, then you have to pay the notary fees, you have to pay the transfer tax, stamps and duties. And then you have to also consider capital gain taxes, which should not apply because, at the end, you're not making anything, but it's so complicated. And then they change it again. And then what do? You transfer again the property at the corporation. It's like, no.
Yeah.
I will just wait a little longer.
I agree. Well, Cristina, let's change gears a little bit here into kind of, I mean, you've just built a house in Costa Rica, right?
Yes, a house.
a lot of people like think about buying something existing or potentially building. I mean, the huge advantage, of course, to building is that, again, you're not paying kind of market value, meaning the price of the land and then your cost to build is usually, can be anywhere from 20 to 50% less than, than market value. The downside is you have to wait, 12 to 14 months, sometimes longer, depending on who you have kind of build it and how organized it is. And then there's that as well. I mean, what would be your advice, having gone through it, to anyone thinking about building a home in Costa Rica?
Doing a lot of research regarding the builder, the architect, and having somebody monitoring the project for them. If they are not here, I will just hire somebody to check the project. And even if I'm here and I'm a foreigner, I don't understand anything about construction, I may want to retain the service of a professional who can monitor the status of the construction. And it's so important. You have to be there.
I mean, we have about 19 homes we're project managing at the moment, and that number just keeps going up because, we're the representative, the eyes and ears. We're not the builders, we're not the architects. We just oversee everything to just make sure everything's being done well. But it's amazing how many people we call us and be like, look, we hired someone to do the job, it didn't get done properly, or like, it's incredible. I paid for something and then it never turned up. I mean, if you're not living here full time or you haven't done this before, it's not for the faint-hearted. I mean, it's not that difficult to do. As I say to everyone, just don't be penny wise and pound foolish when it comes to investing or building in Costa Rica, because again, Costa Ricans are the nicest people, but some of them are not. Like, the construction guy might be a maestro obras, and not really have run a business before and doesn't know how to manage the money and administer it all. So you just got to be really careful.
Yes. And, on the legal side, I have many people reaching out to me saying, hey, can you review the contract? So, for example, I know what I want to see in a contract, a deadline, very clear, and a penalty in case of delays, because there are always delays. There are. So you have to accept that the project will be late and you're going to be paying much more money than what you expected. That's just how it is, but try to control that. But even for me, I will say, I have a law firm here. I will not have any issues. That one day I called you, Rich, our windows are lost. I need your help. Please help. So
I mean, look,
need all the help you can have.
And that's it. And like, a legal contract here is, you have to understand it's not North America. Like, if you want to sue someone here, like, it could take forever. And by that time, they could have closed their company. They could have been out of business. Like, you just need to make sure the company you're using has a really solid, base. And we have the advantage of, like, we've done it, we get a lot of experience, especially the guys here in the office. So, we only work with construction companies that, that have a good background. But like, I mean, I've seen it where, hey, this person said that they can get it done for $1,200 a square meter. And I'm like, okay, let's see his previous projects. Let's see his bid, and we go through it all bid by bid. Like, we usually get 5 different bids, and you can see where stuff's just off. And it's like, look, you're asking basically, for a disaster to happen with this one.
Yeah. And, there is a saying in Costa Rica, which is, lo barato sale caro. Yeah. So the cheap turns out to be more expensive. So sometimes they say, no, this guy can, I can save a lot of money. And then you end up paying more because you have to fix so many things that went wrong. So yeah, I know. And I built on a budget, believe me, I know what it means, but I also know that I built on a budget, so I know what to expect from the project. And
how long did your project take from start to finish, and how on budget were you?
Okay, so how long? We built a 60 square meter 2-bedroom apartment, very small, and it was a prefab. So it only took 3 to 4 months, so not bad at all. And we also built an office space with a reception area and 1 meeting room and office area, and it took 2 months to have it ready.
That's pretty quick,
right? Because we have to redo the floors because we did the lujado option, which is, help me out in English. How do you say lujado? I don't know.
Like polished concrete?
Yes, polished concrete, exactly. We did that, and it turned out horrible, different colors.
Yeah, and polished concrete, I've worked with some people before where I'm like, have you done polished concrete before? And they're like, well, as soon as someone says work, like, I'm like, you haven't done it before.
No.
Like,
Yeah,
don't
exactly.
do it. Don't touch it. Like, the company to do polished concrete needs to really know what it is that they're doing.
Exactly. And the company I hired did not. I realized they did not. So we're just going to put ceramic everywhere during the Easter week. And there you go. But yeah, I'm pretty happy. And I have to say something. My builder may not have been the best, there were delays, but he was always there. He would always answer the phone. He did not steal any money. People stole from him, and he did not charge us again. He was very honest and transparent. So this is something I appreciate, and I think I was lucky. And I really liked the way it turned out. So yeah.
That's happy. Awesome. That's awesome. Well, my last question for you that I love to ask everyone, Cristina, I'm not too sure whether it's changed, but if you inherited $500,000 and had to invest it into a business or real estate in Costa Rica, what would you do with it and why?
Okay, in real estate?
Or a business or real estate, like just where you see opportunity.
Well, real estate, we will like to build a home eventually for our family, a bigger one, 2-story home and everything. So that will be my project. And if I inherited that money, and then I will use I will not spend $500,000. I will just use a lot less, and then use some money to maybe buy a boat. To have it work with my husband, who has a fishing trip business, and the rest for a pool and money for the school of the kids. We'll see. Yeah, that's what I will do.
Fantastic. So, I mean, it sounds like from a business point of view, it's, it's a business for you and your husband. I think it's fishing trips and kind of cruises, those kind of things. Because again, that area of Nosara really doesn't have much of that, right?
No, well, there are many fishing companies, but for example, my husband's trying to differentiate. He has a water taxi service from Nosara to Santa Teresa and back from Malpais, which is super interesting and cool. You spend less money than what you will spend on a shuttle, and it only takes 2 hours from Nosara to Santa Teresa on a boat while you drink and see dolphins. So that's a good thing, and yeah, that's a good business. I would like to invest in him. I'm a good wife.
Well, that's good. That's good to hear. So, well, Cristina, this has been great. Really appreciate you coming back on the podcast, and I'll put all your contact details in the description, and we'll get you again. We'll get you on again in the future.
Thank you so much for having me, and I remain at disposal of anyone with questions. I'm just here.
Fantastic. Thanks very much, Cristina.
Thank you, Richard. Bye-bye.
Well, guys, I hope you enjoyed that update there from Cristina. As you can see here is, again, the left hand does not know what the right hand is doing here. I'm sure one department made this decision without thinking about the ramifications. This usually happens in government. Well, I would say in a lot of businesses as well. So, my expectation is this gets turned around in a couple of months. So I think anyone that's just waiting should probably just wait rather than transferring it into their own name, or find a different way to go ahead and get residency. So, but anyway, as you guys heard there, Cristina actually built her own house. She came to me last minute because she had a bit of an issue there. But again, we were able to help her resolve that pretty swiftly here. So, I mean, anyone looking to invest in Costa Rica, build, or even buy, I always like to ask people is, when they've been out with us on tour, of like, what were your expectations versus the actual reality? And I think few things that they've come back with. Number one, like, that was a lot more fun and personal than I think it was. I always say I'm an idiot, guys. I love to have fun on these things. So it's important. Secondly, just giving them a wide variety of not just seeing exactly what they were looking for, but looking at other stuff just to give it perspective. And also perspective from an investment point of view, from a numbers point of view, and also just what's available and what you can do, plus also what's coming as well. And also, just giving a realistic view of what your returns can be. I'm not here to kind of, sell you real estate, here to kind of just really guide you in it. So it's just giving you the reality of what an investment would really look like here in Costa Rica. It's, hey, your return's going to be like 3%, but as I always say to people, is Costa Rica is a lifestyle investment as well. So you have to think about what that, put a percentage on that lifestyle part and add it to your returns as well. Because again, I think if you're just making a ones and zeros investment, maybe there might be better, safer areas, municipal bonds, government bonds, to invest your money. But if you actually want to use and enjoy an investment, Costa Rica is definitely the place. But you can reach out to us, guys, for anything you need. info@investingcostarica.com. That's info@investingcostarica.com. Until the next podcast, guys, we'll see you later. Bye.
The #1 Costa Rica real estate and investment podcast, bringing you experts from all over Costa Rica.